Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Giovanni. She is a sought after psychic medium, healer, spiritual teacher, uh, and podcast host. Welcome to the show, Joy.
Hi, it's an honor to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about the power of intuition for your career and business. But before we come to that, let's understand a bit about your journey. How come you landed into being a psychic medium from a model and being a model and actress and WWE, diva at one point in time?
Fair question. It's really not the work I ever thought I would be doing. Before I even entered into acting, I had been training in wellness, and here in the States, in the US, we tend to really rely heavily on traditional Western medicine, but I really was so interested in Ayurveda. I studied in different healing modalities, in other traditional healings from other places, because there's so much value in all of that. And it was through my career in fitness, actually. I was training professional golfers and fighters in a fitness way. And then I kind of entered modeling and acting that way, but it wasn't my original intention. So once my career was at a crossroads, I'll say it that way, I really decided to return to my passion of doing wellness. My kids were little at the time. They were probably 4 and 6, 5 and 7, right in there somewhere. And I was looking at the two options of, do I now continue to do auditions and have to be so busy as a mom and try to figure out childcare, or do I return to what I love in wellness and do it that way? So that's what I decided to do. And it was through my journey learning a Japanese system of healing called Reiki that I started to have these gifts open up for me. Like most things in life, sometimes in hindsight, we realize, okay, some things make sense from my childhood that I didn't understand, things that I was perceiving or sensing around me. But I just, you put those things in the back of your mind and you focus on what's in front of you. And I think for all of us, there's this huge healing journey available to us. I know we're talking about intuition as it relates to business and the other areas of our life. In most cultures, we're really taught to, not express our emotions, not express the thoughts and feelings that we have, and really just focus on what we consider reality, like things we experience with our five senses. But we all have these intuitive abilities. And it was only through really doing my own emotional healing and processing that I started to kind of trust that inner voice. We all have it. We're just often taught not to trust it.
Right, Joy. So, about intuition, how does one know whether one is intuitive or not? Actually, intuition is a part of our being. So,
Yeah.
why should, except that the degree of understanding of our intuition can be a bit varied in different. So, that is why people ask, okay, I am intuitive or not. So, in that sense, how does one know whether they are intuitive or they are not intuitive like others? But obviously, some people are intuitive in one way or the other, maybe to a lesser degree.
Yes. Well, you said it perfectly. Intuition's a part of our being. I think where we get confused, we all love wonderful media and movies. And in the movies, we're taught that intuition is about predicting the future, and it is not. So I think that's where we get confused, because no one can predict the future. It's not predetermined for us. The choices we make today will set up the experiences of our future, more or less, right? And it is such a natural part of our being. The other thing to know is that sometimes when it's a personal issue. For example, we're wanting intuition about our own relationship, about something very close to our own heart. It feels like it's harder to get intuition because we're more attached to the outcome. So often, where people can identify themselves as intuitive is if we're giving advice to a friend, for example, or we're looking at someone else's situation. It's much easier to say, oh, clearly, intuitively, this is the better option, or the option that's more in alignment with what you're saying you want to do. Whereas for ourselves, it's back to that emotional processing. Sometimes our emotions are not clear to us. And sometimes we just don't like the options, right? Of like the choices in front of us. And so we feel like it's harder to receive intuition for ourselves. It's just a matter of practice. So I would encourage people to kind of look outside first, as far as like, can you feel intuition about a situation you're seeing in the news, or a situation that's going on with someone you know in your life? Or, we all get those little nudges and feelings. It's just sometimes when it's something that's very personal to us, it's where we feel confused. Does that make sense the way I'm explaining it?
Right, right. Now, in terms of intuition, in terms of, understanding about things, about our, nearby things, sometimes, like you talk about seeing bright, swirling colors every time you close your eyes. So, how do I know whether it is my intuition which is showing me, which is my internal power which is showing me things, or is it because I have not slept for several days, or is it I've got a bit of my mind is not working like any other normal person?
Yeah.
How should a person evaluate when these things happen to them at whatever stage in life?
That's a great question. So, I really feel like all of this works on a spectrum, and it's not so compartmentalized or so black and white as we wish it was. For me, the way that it's always worked within myself, like you were saying, with the colors and with being able to perceive energy in a different way, that's not necessarily intuitive. That's tipping more into those additional, we call them the sixth senses. We talk about it like it's one sense, the sixth sense, but it's really a group. And it's anything that we perceive outside of our five senses. I think the easiest way to identify it is most people have been in some sort of a meeting or on a call, and you might not be hearing from that person, I'm very upset about this, but you can feel the emotion, you can feel the energy from them, thinking, oh, okay, this person is not so satisfied with this conversation. So it's good to get good sleep. It's good to know, where you are with your gifts. If you know that you're experiencing things, for example, some people receive dreams. That's not something I typically receive. So those things are kind of a little bit outside of what we would consider just general intuition, but those additional sensings are available to everyone too. It's just a sense of starting to learn to hone them. I know this is not the answer everyone loves to hear, but meditation is an incredible tool to start having that discernment to know, okay, is this my busy mind? Is this I had too much caffeine, like you're saying? Or is this my internal being nudging me in this direction? And often it'll come in, the intuitive voice is the quieter voice. It's not the louder voice. And Deepak Chopra says, prayer is when we speak to our gods, and meditation is when we listen for the answer. So it's in that quieting down everything external that we can start to feel the difference of, okay, that's my mind worrying, versus, oh no, that's something quieter inside that's nudging me in a direction.
Right, right, Joy. So why do we have intuition? And if we have intuition, why do we have it? Some people have it at a lesser degree and some people have it at a higher level. What is the purpose of intuition in our life? Is it because some people who may not need it, they don't have that in higher degree, and those people who need it more, they will have it in a larger quantity? Is it like that?
I think everyone has it. Everyone has the potential there. I think to the degree we exercise it has to do with not necessarily our need. I think we all need it. And I think it even goes into those innate things that we come out understanding when we're little babies, right? Babies intuitively sense their parent or understand a voice or a noise, right? So it really is just a part of us, period, at the beginning. And you'll notice most people that have spent any time with little children, they tend to be very perceptive of emotions, very perceptive of, oh, mommy or daddy is upset. And then we as parents typically will say, oh, no, 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 everything's fine. That's how we start kind of turning down our intuition, is we start to trust what other people are telling us, the things we see with our eyes, and not what we're sensing. So I think we all come in with equal portions and equal access to this intuition. I think we all need it, and it's an innate gift in all of us. But depending on our culture, our family of origin, the way that we're raised, the things we're taught to believe, we stop trusting ourselves. And then that's where the confusion begins.
Right, that's where the confusion begins. But how do we use this intuition for the best of our, for in business as well as career? Have you used it in your career when you were working at that point in time with WWE? And even do you use it now for your personal understanding, not only for client purposes?
Constantly. I would say what, like, for example, when I went on the original audition for WWE, how I got to them was it was a time period where they had decided we want to pursue some actresses from Hollywood, from LA, that have acting background to help with the storylines. So I already was a member of Screen Actors Guild at that time. And the truth is, I didn't want to go to that audition. It was very far from my house. It was going to be a whole day. But I had just said no to a couple of recent auditions because my kids were little. I think one of them had a cold. And in the back of my mind, I knew, okay, if I reject this audition, my agent's not going to send me on anything anymore. They're going to put me on the back burner and say, okay, don't send her. She's saying no to everything. So in that way, that was my intuition nudging me, saying, you need to attend this, you need to attend this, you need to attend this. But back then, I wouldn't have identified that as my intuition. It's the way we often talk about it is, I don't know why, I just have a feeling. I don't know why, I just thought I should stop at this coffee shop today instead of this coffee shop. So a lot of times we're not identifying it in a conscious way. It's something that we're doing unconsciously or subconsciously all the time. For me, there's some different ways to look at it. So if I'm making a concrete choice, for example, I teach as well. So am I going to offer this course next month, or am I going to offer this course? And I'm making this decision. I think it's fair to take into consideration as we're mulling things over in our mental mind, numbers and probabilities and all of that. But for example, in this example, if these two courses are equal, they're equally liked, people are reporting to surveys, they equally want them, then it's an intuitive decision. Which of these do I feel better about right now? The way I do it, I do a meditation every day, which is just a sitting quietly meditation. But I usually receive my inspiration when I'm doing something different. So then I might go for a walk. I might, do the washing up, whatever it is. And then it's just like a little inspiration that drops in. I think we think inspiration and intuition are these separate things, but they're tied together. So when we're feeling inspired, it's very easy to say, oh, I don't have time for that, I'll do it later. And sometimes it will be, call this person, go on a Jay's show, respond to this message, right? And it's that smaller, quieter voice. So it's very easy to say, oh, okay, I'm busy, I'll do that later. But when we start responding to and moving towards those little nudges, those little inklings, call this person, go here, reach out here, that's when things start to unfold. And it really is intuitively. We want it to be this loud, big flash of, okay, intuition says this, and now I clearly understand. It's not like that. It is very soft the whole way through. And it's often only in hindsight that we realize, oh, you know what? I did have intuition about that. Or sometimes on the other side of that coin, oh, you know what? My intuition, I knew I shouldn't have come here today. I knew it was going to be crowded like this, whatever it is. Does that make sense?
Yes, indeed. It does make sense. Now, how do we calibrate intuition and logic especially when we are at a workplace and doing some business. We always go by logic. We always see the numbers. Intuition we understand, but sometimes we always bend towards the other part of the real part of everything. How do you see that? Means how do we calibrate it? We cannot ignore the numbers also. We just cannot
Right.
go only with our feelings until unless you have so much of money that you can let go of any opportunity or whatever it is.
Well, we have to look at people who have done wonderful things. Like take someone like Steve Jobs, for example. Yes, data supported some of what the internet was going to create for us, but we couldn't have known all of what it was going to create for us. I think sometimes some of the best creations come out of an intuitive vision or an inspiration. And then, like, for example, say your business sells products, and we know these are our top 10 products. And you, as a creative in that business, think, you know what, I want to introduce this 11th product, but I need data. I know in my heart that it's going to be well received. I know this is going to be part of the next wave, because often when we're on the next wave of something new, we don't have a lot of data to support it. So it's almost a reverse engineering of the data, where you have this inspiration and then you can find similar data points to support the hypothesis that this intuitive idea is going to launch. Sometimes it's just in the languaging we have to use with different businesses and different individuals. So it's okay to not use intuitive language and say, oh, I have this, we brainstormed this idea, when really maybe you received it in a dream. Maybe you just saw something on the street and thought, oh, you know what? I would really like to make a cart like that, whatever it is. I think that so often it comes from this wind of inspiration that comes into us. So you can kind of reverse engineer the data a little bit, I think.
Right, right, Joy. So now let's move on from intuition to the psychic medium part of you.
Yes.
Intuition is much more about us. Psychic medium looks at others,
Right.
especially at the outside world, and connects, if I understand it. So, how did this transition happen? Did it all happen at the same time? Why? How did you know? Okay, this is the thing that I can understand quite well, and this is something I would like to do.
Well, that Reiki mentor that I was mentioning earlier, in our work together, she was training me in this healing modality. And as we were working together, she was saying to me, oh, you're highly psychic. And I was saying, oh, you're crazy, because I don't believe in that. So it was only through understanding what those words meant. And really, psychic and intuitive are interchangeable. It's just that we like one word more than the other, or psychic has a little bit of a misleading connotation in our culture typically. And psychic, again, we think it's about predicting the future, but it's not. No one can definitively predict the future. We can, if we're trained, we can sense potentials, possibilities, options, and then the individual has to use our free will choice to move towards those options. For example, I could tell you, Ajay, oh, I see you have the potential in the energy of your soul to own multiple businesses. But if you choose not to pursue that, well, it's not going to magically fall in your lap. So that's sort of how that works. And everyone can receive intuition for ourselves. The training is really if you want to work with the public, if you want to work with others. So the difference between psychic and mediumship essentially is psychic is me blending with the soul inside a body, so a person that's here in the physical, and mediumship is just me blending with the soul of someone who's outside of a body. So it's very much the same thing, just different words for it. How it came to me was when I was doing healing sessions with people, I would just kind of open my heart, open my mind for any inspiration of guidance from their soul, from higher power, ascended masters, whatever you like in there, that would be beneficial for them. And then slowly, little by little, I started to become aware of their loved ones who had already crossed over, and I could give specific details. So it wasn't me just asking, oh, do you have a grandma who's, crossed over to the other side? It was me also giving some information about that person. And I didn't do it with all of my clients because I was a little bit nervous at first too. But the ones that I had If it was a brand new client, I probably wasn't going to say anything. But if it was someone who had been with me for a little while and I knew that they were a little bit open, I might say, "Oh, this is what I'm aware of. This is the information I have," and then they would tell me, "Yeah, like I don't know how you know that, but that's true. That is the thing my grandma would say to me. That is her personality." And then for me, it sent me on a whole different path of my journey because I was okay if this work wasn't for me. I just kind of put it out to the God of my understanding. Hey, if this is for me, I'm happy to learn it and pursue it. And if it's not, that's okay too. So that sent me on a journey to find mentors and teachers and really develop this gift. Because it's one thing to just lightly be aware and sense, and it's another thing to be able to give concrete information to someone. It's just a level of training and practice.
Right, right, Joy. So I want to understand about this medium thing.
Yeah.
My loved ones, if they are not connecting with me, they need another medium. Why like this? Are they angry with me, or is it something else? Help us understand why loved ones have need to be connected through a medium. Is there a reason for it?
That's a great question. I'm so happy you asked that. They don't need to connect through a medium. I believe everyone can connect with their own loved ones. Everyone can honor their loved ones and ancestors. Everyone has the ability to know that their loved ones are with them. It just feels a little different coming from someone outside of ourselves that didn't know that loved one, that can give specific details. Some people just want that extra layer of connection, validation, but do they need to connect through a medium? Absolutely not, which is part of why I love this work, because I want to let everyone know, like, no, you have the ability to sense and communicate with your own loved ones. They can send signs in the world. They certainly receive the emotions and the love that we send to them from our heart or mind. So they don't need to connect, but sometimes it's helpful to people who want that additional validation. A lot of times, again, it's back to us dismissing the things that we feel. They'll say, "Oh, I'm not sure," or "I think I might feel this person," or "I think they might be with me," or "I think they might be showing me this sign in the world, but I'm not sure." And so they want that additional layer of validation, really, is what it is.
Right, right, Joy. So I want to understand that why don't these spirits or ancestors, they move away to where they want to? Why is it that they are waiting for their loved ones to connect? In rare cases, only people talk to their, to the people who have already gone from this world. Most of us, we don't do that, or we do it in a very different manner. What are they waiting for? Help us understand that.
What are the ones on the other side waiting for?
Yes, yes, please.
I don't think they're waiting for anything. I think it's not as, our human mind wants to make things fit into tidy boxes. And I think it doesn't, I think it's much bigger than that. So I believe that once we're not limited in a physical body, we can be many places all at once. A great example of this is there's an incredible woman. Her name is Anita Morjani. She wrote a book called Dying to Be Me. And in this book, she has this near-death experience. She has cancer, she's in a coma, and her part of her soul leaves her body. And she's aware of her parents arriving at the airport. She's aware of conversations doctors are having in another building of the hospital about her. And when she comes back to consciousness, her doctor introduces themselves and says, "Oh, you don't know me?" And she says, "Yes, I do know you. You're Dr. So-and-so. You said this and this." And they were astonished. And they said, "How could you possibly know that? We were not even in this building in the hospital." And through her work, it really helped me understand that, once we're not limited inside this physical body, our soul can be many places at once. So the reason that they're still drawn to us from the other side is by the love that we share, by the compassion and the love that they have for us. And they do want to spend time with us, but they're not limited to kind of waiting around or not having other adventures or learning other things. They're just not as limited to one finite position once the soul is released from the body. Does that make sense? I know it's a big topic.
No, I understand. And your understanding is good. But since I want to understand it from a common person's perspective,
Yeah.
I need to get those. answers. Now, a lot of time people think, this is the third dimension, and anything after that, it's all in a frozen sort of a state or a suspended animation. And so how do people, how do you connect with them? We have time, they don't have time. What is the way we connect with them when everything is so suspended beyond the third dimension?
For me, the way I believe and understand it, and I'm always growing and expanding in my understanding as well, of course. Hopefully, we're all growing all the time, right? Really, through that human emotion, no matter what our life circumstances are or were, that spectrum of human emotion is the thing that we all share. So it's through, I don't like to refer to people as energy so much, but it's through the energy of the soul. They're still a soul, even if they're on the other side out of 3D, third dimension. The energy of their soul blends with the energy of my soul. And it's in that in between space that I'm able to perceive and receive information. So they're not just stuck frozen over there. They're doing things that they enjoy. They're traveling, they're seeing the world, they're seeing things that we probably couldn't even imagine. But they still have care, and still, one of the most amazing things is often they'll talk about what that person is up to in their day-to-day life. Maybe they're changing their home, maybe they're going on a trip, and the spirit person will validate that they know what's going on. I had one, it was a group reading once, and it was the grandma on the other side that I was communicating with, and she was communicating there's about to be an announcement that someone's pregnant in the family and going to have a baby. And the girl was saying, no, 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 nobody is going to have a baby. I don't know about that. And so I left it and I said, okay, we'll see what happens. I moved on to the next person, and she's raising her hand. And I come back to her and she says, you're not going to believe this, but my mom just texted me that my cousin just announced on Facebook that she's having a baby, that she's pregnant. So they will validate that they still know what's happening with us. It's not like they are suddenly like turned off or put in some kind of like pod somewhere where they can't understand what's happening. And then we get to reunite with them eventually one day when it's our time to leave this reality.
Wonderful. You have explained so many difficult things, Joy, and I'm sure through this you are explaining so many difficult things to your clients also, and bringing so much joy in their lives. But one thing I want to understand is that, what is your, if that your clients want, different people want from you, those people are gone. Is it that they want something more from the people who are away from this world? Or is it that they want to convey something which they were never able to when they were all together? How does it work down? Do you sometimes feel sad in those situations, but since they are in that situation, you also want to help them?
Yeah, I think that there is some sadness and some grief. The good news is that sadness and those heavier emotions only belong on this side of reality. On the other side, because they have such an elevated perspective, they don't feel sadness anymore because they can see almost like the whole picture, right? So they understand, and they understand that this reality is temporary. What people are wanting when they come to me really depends on the person. For example, think of a parent that has lost a child. They want to know, who are they with? Are they with my mom over there? Are they safe? Are they at peace? Perhaps it's someone that they didn't get to say goodbye to. Maybe they couldn't make it to the bedside at the end and they want to have closure. Perhaps it's that they want to know, maybe they had a difficult relationship with that person, and it gives the soul on the other side an opportunity to take responsibility and to say, this is what happened in our relationship. I understand the challenges that I had. I take responsibility. So I think it depends on the relationship and what people are kind of seeking when they come to me. I would say in a general way, it's usually, are they at peace? Are they okay? Did they make it? A lot of us, particularly in the West, we have this like religious programming that there's some like bad place they go to or some in between place they can get stuck. So they're wanting to know, like, are they okay? Did they make it? Are they well? And especially if someone suffered greatly in the end of their life, they're wanting to know, are they released from suffering? So it's typically somewhere in that vein of things that people are wanting to know, and it's always so much more that the person communicates than just that.
Absolutely. There's so much to understand about these things from you, uh, Joy. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to connect with you, learn more about you, from you, know about your program so that they can, get the best from you for themselves. What's the best way that they can connect with you?
We can always go to my website, joyfulmedium.com. I actually have a free gift available there, which is a 3-day mini sign course for anyone wanting to learn how to get signs from their loved ones, signs from the universe. If you see recurring numbers, 1111, 444, it teaches you what all of those mean. And that's totally free right on that homepage of joyfulmedium.com. If you love social media, you can find me across social media at Joyful Medium. And I share my podcast there, which is called Spirit Speakeasy, available on all the podcast platforms. And we go into these topics and really unfold the aura, the intuition. Different experts come on, kind of just like you. So it's wonderful to talk to and connect with different people. And I love offering that library of learning for people so we can perceive on our own and test it on our own and see how we feel. Don't just take my word for it. Check it out and see how you feel about it yourself.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Jay.